When it comes to pricing products, I know this is an issue that many of you are interested in. Below is how I price my products, and if you're looking for a specific number, I won't keep you waiting. Because honestly, I'm here to talk about guidance and strategy, but I also understand that the most important thing is the real numbers and pricing tactics, so you can apply right away. So I'm going to share with you the actual numbers I use in my own work so you can immediately apply them to your own shop. When starting a business, one of the most important decisions you will make is how to price your product. Throughout my journey, I follow a few key principles that help me make pricing more effective and manageable. The most important thing when it comes to pricing is to set a competitive mid-range price. This helps attract customers right from the beginning while maintaining stable profit margins. Once your store is well developed, you can gradually increase your prices without affecting sales too much, as the perceived value of your product has already been recognized. The goal is to ensure that every transaction brings profit. The second rule I follow is that profit margins depend on the platform you're selling on. For example, the profit margin I'm aiming for when selling on Etsy is different from when I sell on my own website or Shopify. Each platform has its own fee. However, things are fairly straightforward on Etsy, and I will explain this more in upcoming content. The next principle is to price your product realistically. Taking into account any regular discounts you apply, such as 15% off weekly or monthly promotion, it's important to calculate discount into your base price to ensure you're still making a profit after the markdown. Many new sellers overlook this and end up losing money. And for instance, if your profit is only $1 before the discount, you might actually lose money once the discount is applied. So always make sure that each transaction is profitable. Finally, the rule I always stick to is a minimum profit of $5 per product. In this early stage, it's okay to break even. That's completely normal because every sales helps boost your store visibility in Etsy algorithm, which lead to more organic growth and increased sales over time. Another important factor to consider when pricing your products is how to find a reasonable price point that is not too low or too high in Etsy search results. So for example, when it comes to t-shirt, prices can range from $10 to $25. However, you don't want your product to be priced at the very bottom or very top of that range. The ideal price point is $21.99 to $24.99 before applying any discounts. Additionally, I don't recommend offering free shipping. Personally, I don't offer free shipping on my store either. However, this is something that might change in the future, and if it does, I will update it in the course. Over time, I noticed changes in Etsy algorithm. And as I adjusted my pricing strategy, I found that not offering free shipping actually performed better, especially for new shops and for my clients and students. So my advice is you don't have to offer free shipping. In fact, avoiding it can help you maintain higher profit margin. Another reason is that many customers assume the product price already includes shipping. So if you separate the shipping costs, your product listed price can appear lower and more competitive. With this strategy, you can slightly reduce your product price, charge separately for shipping, and still maintain a reasonable price. The important part is customers expect to pay for shipping. This allows you to keep your profit without hurting your sales. Next, let's talk about profit margin. Currently, many sellers on Etsy, some are students of this course, have discovered that one of the biggest advantages of selling on Etsy is the ability to reach potential customer without spending heavily on advertising. Because of this, maintaining a 20% net profit margin or higher is generally a realistic goal. It allows you to drive consistent sales while keeping your shop financially healthy. After experimenting with other platforms, I made the decision to fully shift my focus to Etsy. The reason is simple. Running a store on other platforms often required significantly more effort. From generating your own traffic and managing ads to working with influencers, all of that takes a lot of time and resources. In contrast, as I mentioned earlier, Etsy provides a built-in audience, which makes it much easier to connect with potential buyers without the stress of building traffic from scratch. That is why Etsy has become my go-to platform for long-term business growth. When it comes to running sales events, it's important to regularly reevaluate your pricing strategy. If you're losing money during sales throughout the year, it may be time to adjust your pricing. You'll probably noticed this already at major retailers like Walmart, Best Buy, or Macy's. There's almost always some kind of sales going on. You get the feeling that you're always getting a discount, and in many cases, you really are. However, this kind of constant discounting isn't legal in some countries. For instance, in places like the UK or across Europe, running non-stop sales is not permitted. With that being said, you don't need to have a sales running all the time. I want to be honest with you. I don't run constant discounts in my shop either. One reason is that I often forget, and how to manage short-term sales effectively, you need to update them almost daily or every couple of days. Instead, I prefer to run sales 2 to 3 times per week and rotate different types of promotions. The goal here is to create a sense of urgency, encouraging customers to buy now because they feel they are getting the best deal compared to your competitor. Typically, I offer slightly higher discount on weekends, usually 5% or more compared to the shorter weekday promotions. This approach also helped me stay compliant with international regulations. I avoid running sales 24/7 because I want to respect the legal standard of different countries. Even though I don't have constant discount, my shops still get consistent sales outside a promo period. In fact, the short-term sales strategy I share in this course has worked really well for me, and I highly recommend giving it a trial. Finally, I want to share this important reminder. Don't get discouraged by low prices on some listings. For example, if you come across a t-shirt listed at just $7, don't panic. If you take a closer look at their listing, you will likely find that the low price applies to uncommon sizes. This is a pricing tactic used for sizes that rarely sell, like extra small. From my experience, I've found that extra small sizes are not that common. In fact, the best-selling sizes in my shop are typically medium, large, and XL. Some shops use low pricings for less common sizes to make their listing look more appealing in search results. But once you select a more popular size, the price usually jumps back up to the $19 or $25. So when you build your own pricing strategy, keep in mind every pricing tactic had its own logic and purpose. The key is to understand your costs and structure your price in a way that attracts customers and keep your business profitable. That's the end of our lesson today. If you have any question, leave a comment down below. And if you want to dive deeper into pricing your product effectively, keep watching. We got plenty more helpful videos coming your way.